Hi, David. Rowdy Tellez was DFA'd today, and many people are citing a 425 PA threshold that would trigger a $200,000 bonus as the reason. I'm seeing a lot of negative comments from the Pirates fan base over this, with many people saying this will deter future free agents from signing with the team. I think the move makes perfect financial sense. What say you? Well, before I say what say me, let me tell you what Derek Shelton, the manager of the Pirates, said, and I am hoping and praying that his fingers were crossed or toes were crossed. He was staring away from the people he was talking to, and he was MFing both Ben Cherington and Bob Nutting. But Derek Shelton said about the designation, the DFA of Tellez, it did not factor into the decision at all. It came down to when the minor league season ended and these guys getting here. That's what factored into the decision the most. What he's referring to, and the questioner was exactly right, if there were 4 more plate appearances by Rowdy, that would be $200,000 check that would have to be paid by the Pirates to the player. First, Derek Shelton said it didn't factor at all. Then he said what it was the minor league season that ended. That's what factored in the decision the most, which means if it's not the only thing that factored and it only was the most influential factor, that means there was something else that factored. But guess what? His entire statement is horse hockey. Do you know what factored into designating him? They didn't want to pay him the $200,000. And here's the craziest part. Ben Cherington and the rest of the Pirates front office, it is, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. It is malpractice that they waited this long to designate him. I, of course, would not have let him get to 425 plate appearances. And there is nothing wrong with that. It's not a violation of the CBA. When a contract is signed that has performance incentives, it is known by the player, it is known by the team, it is known by the union and by the league that the team ultimately controls whether or not that player hits those incentives. If a player is playing great, there's opportunity for grievance. If you get rid of a player, not trade, if you release a player very close to an incentive and there is no particular thing that you can hang your hat on except purposefully making it so that player doesn't hit the incentive, then you're stupid as a team. The fact that the Pirates are open and subject to a grievance is because they didn't release him earlier this month. He has not had a good month. They will argue that his play did not warrant him getting another at-bat. They can argue they needed the roster spot. The bottom line is they waited too long, and now it makes it look sus. The Major League Baseball Players Association is most certainly going to file a grievance. As a matter of fact, I will even put it as a wait to see, an official wait to see, Coca. When we tell you something's going to happen, if it does, we'll remind you. If it doesn't, we'll revisit it because we're accountable. MLBPA will file a grievance in the DFA of Rowdy Tellez. I don't think they will win the grievance, but they will certainly file it. How many times do we talk to our people, both in owners' meetings and in front office meetings, about being ahead of decisions in order to avoid any sort of grievance or any sort of loss in a grievance or any sort of forced settlement? You know that I carried around my black briefcase every day that had in it the payroll. It had in it contracts of the players, what all their incentives were, what their thresholds were, service time, all the things that we would manipulate and need to manipulate in order to run the business soundly. Of course, the Pirates were aware of it. DFAing him with 4 PAs left. It's almost impossible to believe. This whole month, he's been so bad. He's hitting like a $116. He gets on base 25% of the time. there would have been reason to move on from. It's not like the Pirates have been in the playoff race and he was the difference maker. There is no team in the playoffs who then releases a guy because he's about to hit a threshold and that guy's a productive player. But if a guy's going to hit a threshold for a team that's not in the playoffs or a guy that's not going to be on the roster and he's not performing, you Dixie him way in advance of the threshold. It's mind-boggling to me. Now, the second part of your question is whether it will deter free agents from signing there. Absolutely not. Do you know what will deter free agents from signing in Pittsburgh? The fact that Pittsburgh doesn't offer free agents top dollar. That's all. But everyone who does sign there signs there because the Pirates offered the most money.